My name is Clark Olsen. I live in Asheville, North Carolina. I've been a Unitarian Universalist minister for many, many years. In 1965, I saw, along with millions of other Americans, the bloody events of Bloody Sunday in Selma, when the voters, or would-be voters of Selma, tried to get their voting rights by marching across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And I heard the next day the call from Martin Luther King for clergy from all across the country to go to Selma on Tuesday, March 9th, and I chose to do that. I simply decided to go. I lived in Berkeley, California at the time, and I had a wife and a 4-year-old daughter, but I told them I thought I would be safe with all those clergy. The police or the sheriff deputies would not attack. But they did. They didn't. What happened that night in Selma with the clergy was that what happened that night in Selma on Tuesday was that Martin Luther King told the ministers gathered to go off to dinner together. 3 of us Unitarian ministers happened to get gathered together and went off into a restaurant. And following our dinner, we were attacked by some white racists there in town. And one of them swung a club at the Reverend James Reeb, who was one of the 3 of us. And his injuries were very serious. We had to take him in an ambulance and eventually get into Birmingham, Alabama, and into the University Hospital, and he died there 2 days later. His death attracted the attention of thousands of people across the country. It was the attack on a white clergyman in the middle of all of that voting rights activity that apparently triggered finally the attention of President Johnson, who sent yellow roses to the hospital. And his attention was documented by the fact that he made some 50 telephone calls, or received some 50 telephone calls in 3 to 4 days, just around the time of the attack on Jim Reeb, and then finally Jim's death in the hospital. And on Monday, following the attack on us on Tuesday, President Johnson addressed Congress and the nation, urging passage of the Voting Rights Bill, which did get passed by Congress in August of 1965. So the incident that I was part of ended up being, in retrospect, the tipping point, the final tipping point for passage of the Voting Rights Bill. That was my role, and that's what I talk about to the students. A person who was just a clergyman out in California. I decided to go, and that decision made an enormous difference in my life and proved to be something which was effective in changing American and indeed world history. The students find this a fascinating story, and I believe it motivates them. When I tell them that the major lesson for me, is the need for people to simply step up, do something, take a stand, speak up when something is wrong. And I receive letters from the students after they go through the trip. Hundreds of letters, thousands of letters I've read over the last years of Sojourn, in which they talk about the meaning of hearing of my experiences, the meaning for them in their life in school at the moment, and their dreams for their life. It seems to be a very important part of Sojourn and a very important part of their lives, which has meaning for me, because I feel that the opportunity to speak is really a gift to me, and apparently it's something of a gift to students that they are on this experience. I I think the experience of Sojourn is very powerful. I'm not the only speaker, obviously. Many others are speakers, and the students visit many other places and are motivated in virtually every place, essentially around the core of the same thing I just spoke of. I believe that giving to Sojourn to the past, to enable students to go on this trip, is a very important and very wonderful gift that the Sojourn deserves, the students deserve, and we all deserve. We all deserve the opportunity to give that and make that an opportunity for so many students.